Have you ever felt a whisper deep inside your heart? A voice so quiet the world tells you to ignore it, yet so powerful it refuses to let you go? That whisper is your destiny calling. And tonight, I want to take you on a journey, not just across deserts and pyramids, but into the deepest places of your soul. This is the story of Santiago, a boy who dared to follow a dream, and in doing so, discovered the greatest treasure of all. But more than his story, this is your story, the story of every dreamer who has ever stood at the edge of fear, wondering if they were brave enough to take the step. Stay with me, because in the next few moments, you may discover the key to your own destiny. What if the dreams you keep locked away in your heart are not just random imaginations, but a map to the destiny you were born to live? What if every sign, every struggle, every small victory in your life was part of a bigger plan guiding you toward a treasure that only you can claim? Listen carefully, because tonight we step into a story that is not just about a shepherd boy from Spain, but about you, your purpose, and the courage it takes to follow the call of your heart. This is not just a tale. It's a mirror of your own journey, the one you may have forgotten to take, or the one you've been quietly yearning for in the silence of your soul. There was once a boy named Santiago, a shepherd who lived a simple life, guiding his flock across the rolling hills of Andalusia. To him, the stars were not just distant lights but silent friends, and the whisper of the wind felt like conversation. Yet inside him was a restless fire. Night after night, he dreamed the same dream, that somewhere in Egypt, beneath the shadow of the great pyramids, lay a treasure waiting for him. It was more than gold, more than jewels. It was destiny calling. And like many of us, he felt the temptation to dismiss the dream as foolishness. After all, who was he? Just a shepherd, with no power, no wealth, no grand influence. But deep inside he knew the dream was not ordinary. It was a message. How often do we dismiss our own dreams in the same way? You may wake up a vision burning inside you, a desire to start a business, to travel, to create, to love, to live fully, but then the voice of doubt whispers, "Who are you to want that? Stay where you are. Play safe." Yet Santiago's journey begins when he decides to trust the dream rather than the doubt. And that decision, my friend, is where all destinies unfold. He sells his flock, the only security he has, and sets off toward Egypt. Imagine the courage that takes. Everything familiar, everything safe, is left behind for the unknown. Many people never take that step. They spend their lives grazing the fields of comfort, never knowing the treasure that could have been theirs. Santiago teaches us that the moment you step toward your dream, the entire universe conspires to help you. But beware, the path is never easy. In a strange city, Santiago is robbed of all his money. Everything he had worked for, everything he had risked, gone in an instant. For a moment, he feels crushed, abandoned, and foolish. He could return home, blame the world, and bury his dream forever. Isn't that what many people do when life knocks them down? They give up, and their dream dies quietly. But Santiago makes a choice that changes everything. He decides to trust life itself, to believe that the treasure is still calling him, and that every setback is part of the journey. He finds work with a crystal merchant, polishing glass until it shines. Days turn into months, and he learns patience, discipline, and the art of persistence. He discovers that every step forward, no matter how small, is progress toward destiny. And here lies a truth for all of us. Your dream will test you. Life will strip away your comforts to see if you're serious. The universe asks, do you really want this, or are you only curious? Every obstacle you face is not a wall, but a gate. And those gates only open for the ones who refuse to turn back. Santiago works, saves, and grows. But more than money, he gains wisdom. He begins to see that every moment holds meaning, that the signs of destiny are hidden in the ordinary. He learns to read the language of the world, the smiles of strangers, the direction of the wind, the silent messages hidden in chance encounters. He realizes that when you open your heart to your dream, life starts speaking to you in mysterious ways. Eventually, Santiago gathers enough courage and resources to continue his journey across the desert. And here, his story transforms into something much deeper than the search for treasure. The desert is vast, unforgiving, and silent, Every mile he walks feels like a test of his spirit. He learns to listen, not just to the world around him, but to the voice within. That voice, soft and often ignored, is what we call intuition. It is the compass that always points to true north. How many times have you silenced that voice, convincing yourself that logic and fear knew better? But Santiago discovers that intuition is the language of the soul, and if you dare to trust it, it never leads you astray. One night in the desert, Santiago looks up at the endless stars and feels something stir inside him. He realizes that he is not separate from the universe, but a part of it, that his dream is not selfish. It is the way the universe expresses itself through him. And this, my friend, is where your story and his unite. The dream you carry is not random. It was planted in you for a reason. It is your personal legend, as the Alchemist calls it, the unique purpose that only you can fulfill. To ignore it is to betray yourself. To follow it is to live fully, no matter the outcome. Santiago's path eventually leads him to the Alchemist, a wise man who sees beyond appearances. The Alchemist tells him, when you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. But he also warns him, the closer you get to your treasure, the more difficult the journey becomes. Why? Because at the final stretch, fear strikes hardest. Just before the breakthrough, doubt screams the loudest. And those who do not persist are the ones who turn back, one step away from destiny. Think about your own life. How many times have you been close to something? An opportunity, a goal, a chance, and fear made you hesitate. What if you had pushed just a little further? What if you had trusted that the hardship was proof that greatness was near? Santiago learns that real treasure is not just the gold buried under the sands. It is a transformation of the heart, the courage gained, the wisdom earned, and the man he became along the way. And here's the secret that changes everything. When he finally reaches a place of his treasure, he discovers it was not at the pyramids at all. It was back in Spain, right where he started, under the very tree where he first dreamed of it. The journey across deserts and dangers was not about reaching a distant place. It was about becoming the person capable of seeing the treasure that was with him all along. So let me ask you, what dream are you carrying? And are you willing to step into your desert, to face your fears, to trust the signs, to persist through the setbacks until you uncover the treasure within you? Remember this, the dream in your heart is not foolish. It is destiny whispering. And the moment you choose to follow it, your life will never be the same again. Have you ever felt the weight of standing at a crossroads, knowing that one path would keep you safe but unfulfilled, while the other could lead you to everything you've ever wanted, or to complete ruin? That moment of choice is a fire in every dreamer's life. Santiago stood at such a crossroad in the middle of the desert, far from the hills of Spain, far from comfort, far from certainty. He had come too far to turn back, and yet the road ahead was cloaked in risk and mystery. Isn't that exactly how destiny feels? It never shows you the whole picture, only the next step. And the courage to take that step is what separates the dreamers from the doers. The desert was not just sand and wind. It was a teacher, day after day. As Santiago walked with the caravan across endless dunes, he learned the value of silence. He realized that the world speaks when we are quiet enough to listen. The shifting sands whispered change. The winds carried messages of unseen forces. And even the burning sun reminded him that greatness demands endurance. The desert stripped him of everything unnecessary and left only the essentials. Courage, patience, and faith. That is the secret of the journey. Life will take from you all that is shallow, so that only the gold of your true spirit remains. Among the travelers, Santiago met an Englishman, a man obsessed with books and the secret science of alchemy. The Englishman believed in the philosopher's stone, the power to turn lead into gold. He carried with him volumes of study, complicated words, and theories. Yet Santiago noticed something. The Englishman's eyes were always on the pages, never on the desert. He was searching for wisdom in books, but he was blind to the signs written in the world itself. Santiago realized that wisdom is not only found in words, but in experience. And maybe that is why so many people never live their dreams. They are waiting to learn everything first, waiting to feel ready, waiting until conditions are perfect. But life rewards those who learn by walking, who are willing to act and discover along the way. And so the boy began to read not just from books, but from life. He watched how the caravan moved in silence, how the desert revealed its moods, how the camels trusted the journey without complaint. He saw that every creature, every grain of sand, carried the fingerprint of God, and to understand the world, he had to listen with his heart. One night, as the caravan stopped to rest, Santiago sat under a sky filled with stars brighter than he had ever seen. The desert was a vast ocean of silence, and in that stillness, he felt something profound, a connection to everything. The stars were not distant. They were inside him. The desert was not empty. It was alive. And suddenly he understood. The universe was not outside him. It was speaking through him. And if he could trust that voice within, he could navigate anything. Think about that for a moment. How often do you seek answers outside, from other people, from society, from voices that do not know your soul? But the truth is, the compass to your destiny has always been within you. Days turned into weeks, and finally, the caravan reached the great oasis of Al-Fam, a place of palm trees, water, and life in the middle of the desert's endless harshness. It was here, surrounded by thousands of date palms and crystal springs, that Santiago's story took another turn, because destiny never unfolds in a straight line. At the oasis, he met her, Fatima. She was not just beautiful. She was the kind of soul that feels like home. In her eyes, Santiago saw the reflection of everything he had been searching for. Not treasure, not gold, but love. And here came the greatest test of all. Should he stop his journey for love? Should he stay in the oasis, marry her, and build a life of peace? For a moment, his heart wavered. Isn't that what happens to us too? We start chasing a dream, and then life offers us comfort, safety, a reason to stop just short of destiny. But true love, real love, does not chain you down. Fatima told Santiago that if he truly loved her, he had to go and follow his dream. She said the desert women wait, because they understand that men must live their destiny. That is the difference between love that traps and love that frees. But destiny was not done testing him. At the oasis, Santiago began to have visions, images of an army invading, of danger approaching. Fear tried to silence him, whispering that people would laugh if he spoke of his visions. But courage is not the absence of fear. It is speaking and acting despite it. Santiago warned the chiefs of the oasis, and because of his vision, the oasis was prepared. The invasion was stopped, and for the first time, Santiago realized that he had a gift, a deeper connection to the soul of the world. This moment changed everything. He was no longer just a shepherd chasing a dream. He was becoming a man in tune with forces greater than himself. The alchemist appeared soon after, a man of fire and wisdom, mysterious and powerful. He told Santiago, "You already carry the treasure inside you. You already speak the language of the universe. But to claim your destiny, you must continue forward. You must face the desert, and you must not stop." The words burned into Santiago's heart. The alchemist saw in him what perhaps Santiago could not yet fully see. The boy had become more than he believed himself to be. And here is where the lesson reaches you and me. How many times in your own journey have you reached a point where comfort tempts you to stay? How many times have you felt fear whispering that you are not ready, not worthy, not capable? But remember this. Comfort is not your destiny. Fear is not your truth. The vision inside you, the calling that does not go away, is proof that you were made for more. Santiago chose to continue. With the alchemist by his side, he left the oasis, even though his heart ached for Fatima. But real love waits, and real dreams cannot be ignored. The desert ahead would be harsher than anything before, but his soul was stronger now. He was no longer just chasing treasure. He was chasing transformation. And this, my friend, is the truth you must hold close. Your dream is never just about the goal. It is about who you must become along the way. The treasure is important, yes, but the real gold is the strength, the courage, the wisdom, and the love you discover in yourself as you walk the path. The desert stretched endlessly, an ocean of golden silence, and yet every grain of sand carried a secret. Santiago walked beside the alchemist, each step pulling him further away from the safety of the oasis and closer to the unknown. His heart was heavy, filled with longing for Fatima, but the alchemist's words echoed within him. Real love never holds you back. It gives you wings to fly. Santiago knew this was true, but knowing didn't erase the ache in his chest. Still, he pressed forward because something greater than comfort was calling him. The treasure, the dream, his destiny. The nights in the desert were colder than he could have imagined, wrapped in blankets, staring at the infinite stars. Santiago asked questions that lived in every human heart. Why me? Why this journey? Why the pain? The alchemist, wise and calm, would answer in riddles, teaching him that every soul has its path and every obstacle is a test of faith. One night, when Santiago confessed his fear of failure, the alchemist smiled and said, "Don't give in to your fears. If you do, you won't be able to hear your heart. And if you can't hear your heart, you will never find your treasure." Those words pierced Santiago like an arrow, because fear had always been his greatest enemy. Think about your own life. How many times has fear kept you from stepping into your destiny? Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of losing what you already have? The alchemist was right. Fear does not protect you, it robs you. It keeps you blind to the very treasures that life is offering. Santiago began to realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision that something else is more important. As the journey continued, Santiago faced another test. A tribe of armed men captured him and the alchemist, dragging them into their camp. They were accused of being spies, and death seemed certain. Santiago's heart raced with terror, but the alchemist leaned close and whispered, "Trust the desert. Trust yourself. Tomorrow, you will turn yourself into the wind." Santiago's eyes widened. Into the wind? How could that be possible? But the alchemist's calm presence gave him no choice but to believe. That night, Santiago did not sleep. He stood in the darkness, trembling, listening to the whispers of the desert. At dawn, the tribal chief demanded proof. Santiago stepped forward, heart pounding, and walked into the vastness of the desert. He stretched out his arms and spoke to the wind, begging it to carry him. He spoke to the sun, asking it for strength. He spoke to the hand that had written all things, asking for guidance. And slowly, mysteriously, something inside him shifted. He no longer felt separate from the desert or the wind or the sky. He was part of everything. He was everything. The wind rose, sand lifted into the air, and the boy who once tended sheep disappeared into the storm. The soldiers shielded their eyes as the desert howled around them, and when it finally settled, Santiago stood unharmed, transformed, his spirit shining. The chief bowed his head in awe, releasing them. Think about that moment. The boy who once doubted his dream, who once felt small and powerless, had commanded the very forces of nature. And that is what happens when you trust the voice within, when you stop seeing yourself as limited and start seeing yourself as connected to something greater. You may not literally turn into the wind, but you will find that doors open, strength appears, and miracles unfold when you dare to believe in your own destiny. After this, the journey grew more dangerous. The desert was at war, and every mile carried risk. Yet Santiago walked with a new light in his heart. He had tasted the power of his soul, and nothing could take that away. The alchemist guided him, but also began to step back, allowing Santiago to make his own choices. Because a true teacher does not give you the answers. They awaken the master within you. One evening, as they sat by the fire, the alchemist placed a piece of lead into the flames. Slowly, it began to transform, glowing with a brilliance Santiago had never seen. "This is alchemy," the man said, "not just the changing of metals, but the changing of souls. We are led, heavy and ordinary, until life burns away our fears, our doubts, and our false identities. Then we shine as pure gold, the treasure we always were." Santiago watched the fire and realized that his journey had never been about wealth. It was about this transformation, about becoming the person he was destined to be. And here lies a secret that most people never learn. Your dream is not about what you gain, but about who you become. The struggles, the delays, the heartbreaks, they are not punishments. They are the fire that burns away the false you, so that the real you can emerge. The desert stretched endlessly, but Santiago no longer saw emptiness. He saw signs. The flight of birds warned of danger. The whisper of the wind gave comfort. His own heart spoke with clarity. It told him that he was close, closer than ever before to his treasure. But it also warned him of one final test, because destiny always demands proof of faith before it reveals its prize. As the journey neared its end, the alchemist told Santiago that their time together was over. The boy must go on alone. Santiago's chest tightened with fear. He had come so far, endured so much. How could he go forward without his teacher? But the alchemist said, "You already know all you need to know. The treasure is yours to claim. You must believe." And with that, he left Santiago to face the desert on his own. It was in that solitude that Santiago realized the greatest truth of all. He was never alone. The same force that had carried him this far would carry him still. His journey was not about depending on others, but about discovering his own strength, his own connection to the universe. And that truth is the same for you. Teachers may guide you, friends may support you, but in the end, it is you who must walk the path of your destiny. And when you trust yourself, you are never truly walking alone. The pyramids rose in the distance, majestic and timeless, glowing under the desert sun. Santiago's heart leapt. He had made it. Every step, every struggle, every sacrifice had brought him here. And yet, destiny had one final test waiting for him in the shadow of those ancient stones. The pyramids stood like silent guardians of eternity, their golden peaks piercing the sky, whispering of secrets buried deep within the sands of time. Santiago's heart pounded as he approached, every step carrying the weight of years of longing, fear, faith, and sacrifice. This was it, the moment he had dreamed of night after night, the vision that had carried him from the hills of Spain, across deserts and dangers, through love and loss. He had arrived, and yet destiny is never so simple. It never gives its treasure without one final test of the soul. As Santiago knelt in the sand, tears filling his eyes, he whispered thanks to the universe for bringing him this far. He began to dig. His hands clawed at the earth, desperate, trembling with both exhaustion and hope. Hours passed. The sun blazed overhead, then began to sink, and still he dug. Sweat poured, his body ached, but he would not stop. The dream had led him here, and he would uncover the treasure even if it cost him his last breath. But just as his hope blazed brightest, shadows fell upon him. Rough hands seized him. A group of men, armed and ruthless, surrounded him. "Why are you digging here?" they demanded, their voices sharp, cruel. Santiago's heart froze. He tried to explain about his dream, about the treasure, about destiny. But they only laughed. One of them struck him, and the boy crumpled into the sand. Blow after blow rained down as they mocked him, calling him a fool who had chased nothing but mirages. Santiago bled into the earth, the taste of iron in his mouth, his vision fading. Had it all been for nothing? Had he crossed deserts, faced death, found love, only to be left broken and empty? And then something remarkable happened. In that moment of despair, Santiago remembered everything. The alchemist's words, Fatima's faith, the wind that had carried him, the signs the universe had placed along his path. He realized the treasure was not just gold buried beneath sand. It was a transformation of his spirit, the discovery of his own power, the awakening of his soul. The men, blind to his revelation, eventually left, thinking they had defeated him, but they had only given him the final clue, because one of them, laughing, mentioned that he too had once dreamed of treasure, not in Egypt, but in Spain, beneath a tree in a ruined church where a shepherd had once rested. Santiago's heart stopped. That was it, the tree where his journey had begun, the very place where he had first dreamed of the pyramids. The treasure was not here in Egypt. It was back home, waiting for him all along. The journey had never been about reaching this destination. It had been about becoming the man capable of seeing what had been under his nose from the very beginning. And isn't that the truth for so many of us? We chase dreams across years, across jobs, across places, believing happiness lies somewhere far away, only to realize that the treasure was always inside us, in our own backyard, in our own heart. But we could never see it without the journey, without the trials that burn away our blindness. Wounded but alive, Santiago lifted his head and laughed through his tears. He understood now. The pyramids had not betrayed him. They had completed him. They had shown him that destiny is not a straight line but a circle, bringing us back to where we began, but with new eyes, a new heart, and new wisdom. And so he made the long journey back across the desert, back across the seas, back to the land he once thought he had left behind forever. Each step was no longer heavy with doubt, but light with joy, because he carried the greatest treasure of all, the knowledge that he was guided, that he was never alone, that his dream had been real. He had faced the impossible and survived. He had trusted his heart and found the universe waiting there. When Santiago returned to Spain, he went to the old ruined church where he had first laid his head years before, where the roots of the sycamore tree reached deep into the earth. He knelt once again and began to dig, his hands raw, his breath quick. And this time, the earth gave way to something extraordinary. Chests filled with gold, jewels sparkling in the dim light, riches beyond anything he had imagined. Tears streamed down his face, but not because of the treasure itself. He wept because he understood. The real treasure was not the gold. It was the man he had become. Santiago lifted his eyes to the sky and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Gratitude for the desert, for the thieves, for the love of Fatima, for the wisdom of the alchemist, for the courage to take the first step, and for the dream that had never let him go. He knew now that life had never been against him. Every hardship had been a gift, every failure a lesson, every delay a protection. The universe had always conspired in his favor, guiding him, shaping him, preparing him. And that is the truth for you, too. Maybe right now you feel lost in your own desert, beaten down by setbacks, mocked by circumstances, doubting whether your dream is worth it. But remember, Santiago, remember that the treasure is real and it is waiting for you. The path will test you. Yes, it will demand everything of you. But in the end, you will find that the treasure is not just in what you gain, but in who you become. The boy who was once just a shepherd had become the alchemist of his own life, transforming fear into faith, despair into strength, dreams into reality. And so can you, because the story of Santiago is not just a story. It is a mirror showing you the destiny you carry within your own heart. And so the journey ends where it began, but nothing is the same. The tree is the same, the church is the same, but the boy is not. He is forever changed. And so will you be, once you dare to follow your dream. What if I told you that the greatest treasure you will ever find is not hidden under the sands of Egypt, not locked away in some distant land, but buried within you, waiting for you to discover it? Santiago's journey had proven this truth. After finding the chest of gold beneath the tree where his dream first began, he realized something far greater. The journey itself was the real reward. The deserts, the storms, the defeats, the victories, the people he met along the way, the lessons burned into his soul, all of it had shaped him into someone who could no longer be broken by fear. And that is the kind of treasure no one can steal. Think about it. You faced moments in life when you thought you couldn't go on, when the weight was too heavy, when the dream seemed impossible. And yet, here you are, listening, alive, stronger than you know. Those battles you fought, those tears you shed, those nights you thought were the end, they were not punishments. They were alchemy, turning your lead into gold, your weakness into strength, your pain into wisdom. Santiago's story is your story. Every scar on your heart is proof that you're still alive, still chosen, still capable of chasing your own destiny. When Santiago touched the treasure, he laughed, not with greed but with freedom. He finally understood. Wealth means nothing if your soul is empty. True treasure is when your heart is alive, when your spirit is unbroken, when you are living the dream written for you. The gold was beautiful, yes, but it was only a symbol of what he had already earned inside himself. The real treasure was the courage to believe. He remembered the people he had met, the crystal merchant, stuck in fear, dreaming of Mecca but never going, the Englishman, trapped in books, searching for answers but too afraid to live them, and Fatima, whose love was so pure it set him free instead of holding him back. Each of them represented a choice: to live trapped in fear, to hide in endless preparation, or step boldly into destiny. And Santiago chose the last. That choice made all the difference. So what about you? Which choice are you making? Are you waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, the perfect guarantee before you move? Or are you willing to step forward in faith, trusting that the universe will meet you halfway. Remember, you don't need to see the whole road. You only need to take the next step. Santiago didn't know where the desert would end. He didn't know if the pyramids would hold treasure or disappointment. But he kept walking, and that is why he discovered what others only dream of. One night, as Santiago rested beneath the stars, he felt something stir within him. A voice, soft in the wind, stronger than the earth, rose from his heart. It said, "You are exactly where you were meant to be. Every step was necessary. Every loss was a gift. Every dream was a message." He closed his eyes and let the truth sink in. Life had never been against him. It had always been for him. And that is something you must never forget. When life tests you, it is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to prove you. The dream in your heart is not there to torment you. It is there to guide you. The obstacles are not walls. They are doors. And the key to those doors is persistence, faith, and courage. Santiago decided then that he would return to the desert, to Fatima, because love and destiny are not separate. They are one. But he would go back as a different man. No longer a boy chasing gold, but a man who had discovered the language of the soul. He carried with him not just riches but wisdom, not just dreams but truth. On his way back, he imagined how he would tell Fatima everything. He imagined her smile, her embrace, the way her eyes would shine when he told her that his treasure was real and that their love was part of his destiny. For the first time, he felt complete. He had both love and purpose, both treasure and transformation. And that balance is a true secret of life. To chase your dream without losing your soul, to love without giving up your destiny, to live fully without fear, that is the art of living. And here's what Santiago realized. Destiny doesn't just happen once. It's not a single treasure you find, and then you're done. No, destiny unfolds again and again. Each time you listen to your heart, each time you follow the call, each time you choose courage over fear. The treasure at the pyramids was only one chapter. The rest of his life will be filled with new dreams, new deserts, new treasures. And the same is true for you. So often, we treat success like a finish line. We tell ourselves, once I get there, once I achieve that, once I have this, then I'll be happy. But the truth is, life is not about arriving. Life is about becoming. Each dream leads to another. Each treasure opens the way to a greater one. And when you live this way, you never run out of purpose, because purpose is endless. As Santiago walked, he remembered the words of the Alchemist. Listen to your heart. It knows all things, because it came from the soul of the world, and one day it will return there. Santiago smiled because now he understood. His heart was no longer a source of fear or doubt. It was his greatest compass, his greatest guide, his greatest ally. And if he listened to it, he would never be lost again. So I ask you right now, what is your heart saying to you? Not the voice of fear, not the noise of the world, not the doubt of others, but your heart. That quiet whisper that you've been ignoring. What if you dare to listen? What if you trusted it enough to take just one step? Because that's how destiny begins, not with giant leaps, but with small steps taken in faith. Santiago's story is not about a boy in Spain. It is about every dreamer who dares to believe. It is about you. The pyramids may be far, the desert may be endless, the thieves may strike, but if you keep walking, if you keep trusting, if you keep listening to your heart, you will arrive. And when you do, you will discover that the treasure was always inside you. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine standing on the edge of your greatest dream. You can see it in the distance, you can feel it in your bones, and yet something inside whispers, what if you're not enough? What if you fail? That is the battle every dreamer faces. And it is the battle Santiago had faced in every step of his journey. But now, with the treasure discovered and the wisdom gained, he knew the truth. Failure was never the enemy. Fear was. The journey back to the desert was not easy. The roads were long, the danger still real, but Santiago walked differently now. His steps were steady, his eyes calm, his spirit unshaken. He no longer saw obstacles as threats, but as reminders of his strength. He remembered the crystal shop, where he had once worked, polishing glass day after day. At the time, he thought it was just survival, but now he understood It had been training. Life had been preparing him, polishing him, shaping him into someone who could shine. Every delay, every hardship, every seeming setback had been part of his alchemy. And isn't that true for us all? We curse the waiting. We resent the struggles. But one day we look back and realize they were the very things that made us ready. As Santiago crossed familiar lands, people asked him about his journey. Some laughed, thinking it foolish. Others listened with awe, inspired by his courage. And Santiago realized something profound. People will always see your dream through the lens of their own heart. Those who are trapped in fear will call you reckless. Those who are trapped in doubt will call you naive. But those who are awake, those who are hungry for more, will recognize themselves in you. And those are the souls you are meant to inspire. One evening, as he rested near a small village, Santiago sat with an old man who asked him about his travels. Santiago shared pieces of his story, the deserts, the pyramids, the treasure. The man listened quietly, then said, "The greatest tragedy is not when people fail to find treasure. The greatest tragedy is when they never search at all." Santiago nodded because he understood the world is full of people who bury their dreams under fear, who trade their destiny for comfort, who die with their treasure still inside them. That he knew was the saddest fate of all. The next morning, Santiago continued his journey, the thought of Fatima pulling him forward. Every step closer to the desert felt like a step closer to home. He remembered her words, "If you truly love me, go and follow your dream." Those words had carried him through the hardest nights, through the loneliness of the desert, through the fear of death. And now he understood why she had said them, because real love never demands that you shrink. Real love wants you to expand, to grow, to rise into who you were meant to be. Fatima had seen his destiny, even when he doubted himself. And that is why she was his true treasure, the gift waiting at the end of every trial. But before Santiago could return to her, he stopped once more beneath the sycamore tree in Spain, the very place where his dream had first begun. He closed his eyes and let the memories flood him. The night he had seen the dream, the fear of selling his sheep, the crystal shop, the caravan, the alchemist, the wind, the pyramids. It all circled back here. And he realized life is a circle, always bringing us back, but never the same. We leave as one person and return as another. That is the true purpose of the journey. As he sat there, Santiago felt something stir deep inside. A quiet voice whispered, "This is not the end. This is the beginning." He smiled because he knew it was true. The treasure he held was not just the gold. It was the power to dream bigger, to love deeper, to live fully. And now that he had discovered it, he would never stop. There would always be new deserts, new pyramids, new treasures waiting. Because that is the nature of destiny. It does not end. And maybe that is the message you need right now. Maybe you've been waiting for one big breakthrough, one final success, one treasure to solve everything. But the truth is, life is not one treasure. It is many. Each time you follow your heart, each time you choose courage, each time you listen to the whisper of your soul, you uncover another. Destiny is not a single moment. It is a way of living. Santiago lifted his eyes to the sky and whispered gratitude again. Gratitude for the dream, for the journey, for the pain, for the love, for the treasure, because without any of it, he would not have become who he was. And then, with the sunrise painting the sky in gold, he rose and began his final walk back to the desert, back to Fatima. And isn't it the story of all of us? We set out searching for something far away. We are broken, tested, shaped, and finally, we return, not to the same place, but to ourselves. Stronger, braver, wiser, and ready to love and live in a way we never could before. So if you are still waiting to begin, still hesitating, still letting fear hold you back, listen to Santiago's story. The treasure is waiting. The desert is calling. The universe is whispering. The only question is, will you take the step? Close your eyes and imagine the desert at night. The stars stretch endlessly across the sky, each one shining like a promise. The silence is heavy, but it's not empty. It's alive with secrets, with whispers, with destiny itself. Santiago walked beneath those stars once again, each step echoing the steps he had taken before, but now his heart was different. This time he was not chasing a dream. He was living it. As he walked, he thought about everything he had learned. He had once believed that treasure was something you found in the ground, something you could hold in your hands. But now he knew the truth. Treasure was something you found within yourself. It was the courage to begin, the strength to endure, the wisdom to trust, and the love to keep going. The gold he carried was proof, but the real wealth was invisible. And isn't that what we often forget? We chase money, titles, applause, thinking they will give us meaning. But the true treasure is who we become along the way. One night, Santiago stopped by a small oasis. He sat by the fire, watching the flames rise and fall, and he thought about the alchemist. He could almost hear the man's voice. Remember, wherever your heart is, there you will find your treasure. Santiago smiled, because now he finally understood. The alchemist had not given him gold, had not carried him across the desert, had not fought his battles for him. The alchemist had only guided him toward himself. That was the greatest gift of all. And maybe you, listening right now, have been waiting for someone to save you, for someone to hand you the map, for someone to walk your path with you. But here is the truth Santiago discovered. No one can live your destiny for you. They can guide, they can inspire, they can encourage, but the steps are yours. The fear is yours. The breakthrough is yours. And that is what makes the treasure worth having. The days passed, and Santiago felt the pull of the desert growing stronger. He thought of Fatima, her eyes like the desert night, her voice like water in the heat. Every time he doubted, he remembered her words. Go, fulfill your dream. Those words had been the wings on his back. And now, as he drew closer to her, he realized what love truly is. Love is not a chain that binds you. Love is not fear disguised as possession. Love is freedom. Love is a force that says, be everything you are meant to be, and I will be here when you return. And in that moment, Santiago knew his treasure was not complete without her. Finally, one evening, as the sun sank low and painted the sky with fire, Santiago saw the desert ahead. His heart raced, his steps quickened, and when he reached the familiar sands, he dropped to his knees and let the grains of sand slip through his fingers. This was the land that had tested him, broken him, built him. This was where he had faced fear, where he had met love, where he had been reborn. He pressed his forehead to the ground, whispering gratitude to the desert, as if it were alive. Because, in a way, it was. The desert had been his teacher, his crucible, his sacred fire. As the night fell, Santiago finally saw the oasis lights in the distance. His heart beat faster, stronger, louder. And then, there she was, Fatima. She stood waiting, her eyes filled with the same steady light as the stars above. She did not run to him, and he did not run to her. Instead, they walked, slowly, step by step, until they stood face to face. No words were needed. The desert had spoken for them. The journey had carved their souls. All that remained was truth. Santiago held her hands, and for the first time in his life, he felt whole. Not because he had found treasure, not because he had conquered deserts, not because he had survived fear, but because he had finally understood himself. He had followed his heart, and in doing so, he had discovered everything. That night, as they sat beneath the stars, Santiago told her about the pyramids, about the treasure, about the circle of destiny that had brought him back. And Fatima listened, smiling softly. When he finished, she said, I knew. I always knew. That is why I told you to go. Because the universe does not lie. Santiago looked at her, and in her eyes, he saw the reflection of all he had become. He realized that his journey was never about gold. It was about this moment, to return to love, not as the boy who left, but as the man who had discovered himself. And maybe this is the message life is whispering to you right now, that the treasure you seek is not at the end of the world, not hidden beneath pyramids, not guarded by others. It is in your heart. It is in your courage. It is in your willingness to walk the desert of your fears and still keep going. And when you do, you will not only find treasure, you will find yourself. Santiago closed his eyes at night, holding Fatima's hand, listening to the silence of the desert. He did not fear the future, because he had learned that the universe was always conspiring in his favor. And as sleep took him, he dreamed, not of gold, not of pyramids, but of love, of destiny, of a life lived fully awake. Because in the end, that is the real alchemy, not turning metal into gold, but turning dreams into destiny, fear into courage, and life into love. Imagine for a moment the quiet after a long storm. The air feels cleaner, the sky brighter, and your heart lighter because you survived. That was Santiago now. His storm had been the desert, the fear, the unknown. And now he stood in the calm, not the boy who once herded sheep, but the man who had chased his destiny to the edge of the world and returned whole. He woke each morning with gratitude burning in his chest. He would walk through the oasis, the sound of water flowing like a hymn, and he would smile because he finally understood the secret of life. The treasure was never just gold or jewels or even success. The treasure was waking up knowing you had listened to your heart, that you had followed the whispers of your soul no matter the cost. That was wealth no one could steal, no desert could bury, no fear could destroy. Sometimes, as Santiago worked or sat beside Fatima, he thought back to the very beginning, to the dream under the sycamore tree, to the moment he almost gave up, almost settled, almost chose comfort over destiny. And he shivered, not because of regret, but because he realized how close he had come to losing everything. If he had ignored that dream, if he had silenced his heart, if he had chosen safety instead of courage, he would have died rich in sheep but poor in soul. He would never have known the depths of his own strength, the vastness of his own love, the beauty of his own destiny. And isn't that the danger we all face? To play small, to stay safe, to settle into routines that keep us alive but never awake. We bury our dreams under excuses. We call them impossible, too risky, too foolish. But deep down, we know the truth. What we fear most is not failure. What we fear most is the power of our own destiny. Santiago had faced that fear, and he had won. And now his life was proof that when you trust, when you step forward even trembling, the universe rises to meet you. He thought of the crystal shop, where he had once learned patience. He thought of the caravan, where he had learned endurance. He thought of the alchemist, who had taught him faith. Every person, every struggle, every silence had been necessary. The universe had not wasted a single step. One evening, Santiago sat by the fire with Fatima, the desert wind soft against their skin. He turned to her and said, "Do you know the greatest lesson I learned?" She smiled and waited. Santiago looked at the stars and whispered, "That the treasure is not somewhere far away. It is always here within us. The world tests us, breaks us, bends us, but only to reveal the gold inside. That is the real alchemy." Fatima squeezed his hand, and he felt the truth of his words settle deep in his soul. He realized then that his story was not just his own. It was for everyone who dared to dream, for everyone who felt the stirring of destiny inside, but was afraid to follow it. His life was a message, and the message was simple: trust your heart. And maybe that's why you're hearing this story today. Maybe you needed this reminder. Maybe life has been testing you, pushing you, breaking you. Maybe you've been standing at the edge of your dream, paralyzed by fear. If so, listen closely. Your desert is calling. Your treasure is waiting. The universe is watching, ready to conspire in your favor the moment you take the step. Santiago leaned back, feeling the fire's warmth. He thought about how far he had come and how far he could still go, because destiny was not a single journey, not a single treasure, not a single love. Destiny was infinite. Every dream fulfilled opened the door to another. Every treasure uncovered revealed a deeper one. And he knew he would never stop listening to the voice of his heart. As the flames flickered, Santiago closed his eyes and whispered a prayer, not a request, but of gratitude. Gratitude for the dream that had set him on his path. Gratitude for the deserts that had shaped him. Gratitude for the treasure that had revealed itself. Gratitude for the love that made it all complete. And maybe that's where we all need to begin. Not by begging life for more, but by thanking life for what we already have. Because gratitude is the key that unlocks the door to abundance. Gratitude turns every desert into a teacher, every struggle into strength, every ending into a beginning. The night deepened, The stars burned brighter, and Santiago felt something stir within him once more. The same force that had called him to the pyramids now whispered again. It said, "This is not the end. The journey continues. Keep listening. Keep following. Keep becoming." And Santiago smiled because he finally understood that life is not about arriving. It is about transforming, again and again and again. And so his story, though it feels like an ending, is really a beginning. The beginning of a new life, a new destiny, a new way of being in the world. And perhaps, if you are willing, it can be your beginning too. So let me leave you with this. Your treasure is real. Your destiny is calling. The universe is waiting. Do not bury your dream under fear. Do not trade your soul for comfort. Do not leave this life with your treasure still hidden inside you. Be brave. Take the step. Walk the desert. Listen to your heart. Because one day, when you return home, you will realize what Santiago realized, that the journey was worth it, the treasure was within you, and the love you discover along the way will make it all complete. This is not just a story. It is yours. It is ours. It is the eternal story of the human heart, forever searching, forever daring, forever becoming. The story of the alchemist within us all. And so the boy who chased a dream became the man who found his destiny. But the truth is, this was never just Santiago's story. This was yours. Because within you, too, is a treasure, waiting to be uncovered. Within you, too, is an alchemist, ready to transform fear into courage, doubt into faith, and dreams into reality. The universe is waiting, whispering, conspiring to help you, but only if you are brave enough to listen to your heart. So tonight, as you close your eyes, ask yourself, will you settle for comfort or will you step into destiny? Because the journey is calling, the treasure is waiting, and the time is now.